So good afternoon to our distinguished guests, the faculty and the GMP batch of 2023-24. I would like to take this opportunity to welcome you all to SAMVAAD. Today's enlightening panel discussion will be focused on the ever-evolving landscape of the supply chain industry. This afternoon, we have the privilege of bringing together a group of visionary leaders and experts who have dedicated their careers to driving innovation, efficiency, and sustainability within the sector. Please join me in welcoming Mr. Shiv Rawat, Vice President and Head HR of DTDC Express Limited, Mr. Jaspal Gandhi, Director, Contract Logistics 3SC Supply Chain Solutions, Mr. Dhaval Thanki, VP APAC of Loginext, Mr. Sumit Jindal, Supply Chain Director, Arzu, and Mr. Vasu Suram, the Managing Director of Transportian India. Thank you so much, guests, for joining us today. In an interconnected global economy, the supply chain industry serves as the lifeline that enables the smooth flow of goods, services, and information across channels. In line with this, I would now like to open up the floor to our esteemed speakers to tell us about their journey in the industry so far and help our students understand the same better, while also briefly shedding light on the trends that will transform the industry going forward. I'd like to begin with Mr. Dhaval, if you can please share your inputs on this.
Hi, everyone. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, great. So thank you for the warm welcome and delighted to be here. Looking forward to this conversation. So let me just quickly start off by sharing my views on the whole supply chain landscape, right? I mean, today, especially after COVID, there has been a phenomenal amount of acceleration of digitization in supply chain, right? And that's mainly because every industry you look at e-commerce, look at transportation and logistics, look at courier express parcel, look at quick commerce, instant deliveries, Swiggy, Instamart, Amazon Fresh, etc. And also look at retail and grocery deliveries, right? Each one of these industries has been focusing more on direct to home deliveries, especially after COVID, right? Because that kind of acted as an acceleration, trigger for digital adoption. Now, as a result of this, what has happened is the industry has shifted in terms of the way technology is being used, the way ecosystems are being used, and the way the focus has become even more stronger on customer experience, right? Because today customers' expectations are sky high, right? Today, when you order a item on Amazon or on Zomato or any of these apps from your phones, you expect that you will have full visibility of the order. You expect that you're going to get notified of the ETA. When are you going to receive the order? Where is your order? And so on and so forth, right? So all of that is possible because you have the technology behind it. Also, what's happening is, most of these businesses, right, logistics businesses have been a little late to the whole tech party, right? We've been hearing about fintech, we've been hearing about edtech, we've been hearing about, all kinds of tech, right? Edutech, fintech, meditech, you've got startups in all of these tech-enabled businesses, whereas logistics is something that is relatively late to the party, and for the right reasons, because logistics is extremely complicated. Today, if you want to start an e-commerce operations, the number one critical success factor of that e-commerce operation is going to be your ability to handle logistics. Okay, anybody can put together a website, anybody can source products, anybody can do digital marketing to drive traffic to the website. But to really do the deliveries, to manage warehouse operations, to manage on-ground logistics, to manage intercity logistics, inter-country logistics, that's not anybody's game. That's real hard stuff. That's very capital expenditure intensive. That's very infrastructure intensive, and that's very scale intensive, because again, logistics is a very high volume, low margin business, no matter where you look at it, right? Now, if you put all of these dynamics together in the whole digitization revolution that's taking over every industry, you'll realize that it's very difficult to digitize logistics as an industry, because there are a lot of on-ground dependencies. You've got people like drivers, delivery associates, people who are driving trucks, vans, bikes. You've got warehouse managers, you've got production managers. You've got folks who are traditionally not very high on tech adoption. Okay, and to drive tech adoption in that kind of a landscape where your stakeholders are very different from your so-called modern millennial stakeholders, right? in that industry, to drive digitization, you really need a lot of training, a lot of mindset change, a lot of expectation setting, and a lot of evangelizing to ensure that you're able to make that transition from old school way of doing things to the digital way of doing things more efficient, right? And I think that's one space that we've seen a lot of action in as logistics as a platform. Today we operate in more than 50 countries across the globe, and the landscape over the last 3 or 4 years has rapidly evolved. You know, the challenges that we used to face 2 years back are no longer challenges today because of the whole digital adoption. We find a lot of traction, a lot of people getting involved, a lot of positive sentiment when it comes to adopting cloud-based solutions, right? And one more small thing I want to add before I close my opening remarks is the role of ecosystems in driving this technology adoption in logistics, right? Because if you look at today's world, right, today's world is a very ecosystem driven world, right? What are the top 5 companies of the world today? Google, Apple, Microsoft, Facebook, and Amazon, right? These are the top 5 companies of the world. Do you think any of these companies can exist today without the other 4 companies? No. What are the top 3 most used apps on iPhone? Gmail, YouTube, Google Maps. Google apps are the most used apps on iPhones, right? So the point is, if there is no Google, there won't be an iPhone. If there is no Apple, there won't be an Instagram, because majority of Instagram users, influencers are all coming in from Apple devices, right? So the whole point I'm making is, or for example, if there is no app, no Google Maps, there won't be any Uber, right? Because Uber needs Google Maps to exist. So today's world is a really ecosystem driven world. You've got companies that depend on each other for growth. You've got companies that depend on each other to deliver customer experience. You've got companies that depend on each other to drive profitability in their industries. And logistics technology is no different. And we've been lucky to have been a part of this journey. And the kind of ecosystem collaborations we're seeing in the logistics tech space are amazing. You know, today our platform is integrated with Grab Express, PandaGo, Uber Eats, Careem, you name it. All these major food aggregator players, they are already pre-integrated on our platform so that our customers can leverage their delivery infrastructure for making deliveries wherever required in their supply chain process, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. This whole collaboration between different systems, different organizations, and different business models in the logistics value chain is the new world order. That's where the world is moving. How better can you collaborate with other players in the ecosystem so that the sum is total and sum is greater than the total of the parts when it comes to, you know, impact creation, customer experience, or cost optimization or business impact, right? So I think that's one very, very important thing that we should, you know, all be focused on, which is how the ecosystem thinking is shaping the tech landscape across the world and is making the world a whole lot better with this collaboration approach across different players. So I think, yeah, on that note, I'd say we're in, you know, we're in this industry, we're all, you know, alive in these exciting times when you see so much of tech disruption happening everywhere, of course, in logistics as well. And this is just, you know, the beginning, the way we see it. I think we're going to see, you know, with all of the AR, VR, and AI and ML and all of that coming in, I think there are going to be interesting times ahead in terms of how all of these interesting technologies can blend with the problem statements and use cases in logistics to be able to create a much more efficient and more enjoyable experience for all stakeholders, logistics providers, employees, customers, and enterprise clients as well. So super excited and super looking forward to what the future holds in this respect. That's
Thank
what
you,
I want.
Dhaval sir. Thank you, Dhaval sir, and really appreciate the comment on ecosystems. I'll now open the floor for Vasu sir to share his comments on this front.
Thank you so much. I think I will probably bring a slightly different perspective to this discussion because of my background within transportation and logistics. I have been working on the global logistics transportation for now close to 12 years, trying to solve problems that are really ocean related and also kind of also touching upon the air related. The air is less of a problem because, you know, the the time that is involved in air logistics is very short compared to the ocean. And the ocean is of course very important because most of the goods that are transported globally have to use or are using ocean. And then there is a huge amount of complexity to do with ocean, mainly because of the less number of ocean carriers that are involved in the global logistics. Or if you take like the top 20-25 ocean carriers capture like 95% of the ocean transportation system, and traditionally they have not been pretty good at digitization, and they're also not pretty good at kind of giving away information. And what we have also been trying to solve, especially within Transporion, is the multimodal part of the global transport chains. I think if I were to answer a question on the global logistics, what is the most exciting thing to solve now is then the multimodality. The multimodality that is including ocean, right? I think this is important as a global problem. I think maybe in India, we probably do not see this problem yet, but we will start to see this as a problem, because we are probably at the moment, I don't have the figures, but we are kind of a big exporting country, and a lot of things that are touching the customers are mainly coming locally. So the last mile is very interesting discussion for now, certainly. But I think the global logistics, right, when we start to look at from the business point of view, where businesses are exporting things, and they are exporting, for example, Hyderabad has a big pharmaceutical industry, and for a fact, I know they are quite a large exporter of drugs, and then for them it is very important to have a very reliable multimodal supply chains, which are important not only for them but also their customers across the globe, because the amount of exports that we have is immense there in that specific sector. But if you look at the world as a whole, like if you look at Europe, if you look at America, you can always see the global supply chain direction where the goods are flowing, right? Mostly they are flowing China, India, towards Europe, towards America, and that probably will not remain the same if you look at like next 5-10 years, right? That there will also be a lot of goods coming back as well. The challenge there is, of course, when you're looking at this B2B sector of logistics and transportation, the ocean will remain. I think that the ratio, the proportion of the goods that will be transported globally, I think the ocean will continue to take the lion's share of these goods. The air will still be there, but it is pretty expensive. I mean, if you're looking at the costs, they're 10-15 times more than the ocean costs, and the amount of goods that can be transported on air is also limited compared to the capacity that we have in ocean. So the challenge is, of course, the ocean carriers. We see in the last 3-4 years, the logistics costs have increased quite a bit. I think this is there is a huge effect of pandemic. As a result, the carriers are kind of earning more. They have a lot more cash in their banks, and they're a lot more in favor of digitizing. But they are always digitized not to connect, but they digitize to ensure that they get the most out of the vessel that is on the ocean. That is, they always want to ensure that optimum number of containers, or as many containers as possible are loaded onto their vessels. And then if someone is coming and saying, we have 100 more containers now, then they can simply drop the smaller clients with smaller number of clients, and then they can make last minute changes, and all sorts of things can happen. So the reliability with the ocean transport is the key for businesses, right? This is an area where we see changes already, but a lot more will change, and that will happen due to digitization in this area. And I touched upon the multimodality, right? No transport, global transport will start in a port and end in a port. I mean, there could be a small number of transportations that can happen that way, but mostly transport start somewhere inland, they always end also somewhere inland. So this connectivity from non-ocean to non-ocean, that is a challenge really for global logistics, even for a leading logistics platform provider like Transporion. Transporion is the largest logistics and transportation platform provider in Europe, and also one of the leading ones in the world. Even here, it's a challenge because of the way the market is fragmented. There are a number of smaller players who operate in this area. So if you're a shipper who is looking to really book transportation, then there could be certain, if you're a big shipper, you could have your own logistics department. You can book some of the legs in the supply chain for yourselves. You can operate via a freight forwarder for some of the legs, and having the end-to-end booking and visibility execution is almost impossible now, right? And that is where we are trying to jump in, and we are trying to do something, and that is not easy. We need to, I think it has been touched upon by earlier speaker, that platforms are important here, right? When you have large number of smaller suppliers, right, they can't really build, or they can't digitize themselves. They need platforms where they can utilize the support and ability to connect with each other, because they're very interdependent. And the interdependency also drives the need for the platforms, where they are kind of feeding into the platform, and then also they're getting data out of the platform, and that will make these supply chains much more manageable. The shippers who are spending lots and lots of money on imports, on exports, they need they need a way to really make choices like the way you do, right? You're now, if you're booking a flight, let's say from Bombay to Delhi, you are presented with a certain number of choices, and you make those choices based on what your needs are, how fast you want to start in the morning, you want to start in the afternoon, and you want to spend, and what kind of food you want to have in the flight, right? If you look at the transportation side of things, that choice to the shippers who are spending lots and lots of money is currently not available. The other really exciting thing in this area is, transportation contributes quite a bit towards carbon emissions. And, the entire world, or different governments, different countries in the world have come together, and then now they've signed up to have these carbon emissions cut down. And transportation, it has a role to play there to cut down these emissions. We have large number of empty containers that get transported everywhere, and that means it's a waste of the carbon emissions, which we can avoid. And there is also the trucks that are probably, if you are a fleet management software, right, and you're managing a fleet of trucks, if you're assigning the fleet from one delivery to the other delivery, if you're making good choices there, right, you can save time, you can save money, and you can also save on the carbon emissions. this is a key role that the logistics play in the next 5 years or so. And it's a very exciting stage we are in the digitization of transportation and logistics. I think there will be a huge amount of transformation within the global logistics area, which will also have huge impact on the last mile delivery, which includes the deliveries to the end customers, also which includes deliveries to the businesses which are receiving these goods. I'm looking forward for other panel members, very interested to hear what they have.
Am I audible?
You are now, yeah.
Okay. So thank you, Vasu, sir, for that, and definitely agreed on the role of ocean freight. I will now move on to Shiv, sir, to share insight with us and talk a little bit about his journey and the human element as well, and the trends going forward in logistics on that front.
Thank you, Malika, and thank you, everyone, giving me an opportunity to learn from each of us. If I go straight to the question and about my journey, I've been in this industry from almost 27 years. It looks like sometime a coincidence and an incident that I've been one company from my starting days. I joined as executive trainee in the company, and I am working as a head of HR for India and ISJ country. During my tenure, when I joined my organization, that time I was not knowing what is logistics. I was just knowing what is DTDC. That's all. Somebody told me that this company is growing, newly company, you can join there and go and give an interview. So I went, I got an interview, a young boy, what to do, nothing, no knowledge about the logistic industry. Slowly, when I started my career, I moved into, I am a HR professional, so started my journey from HR, worked in different functions altogether, whether it was as a business head for, Madhya Pradesh, whether it was a transportation guy, whether it was a legal person, whether it was a material management person, whether it is an administration person, whether it is a training person, all these functions I have been working throughout my, journey in organization. Logistics, when we talk about logistics, yeah. Before 2020, I believe before COVID, I would rather say people were not talking much about the logistics. Yeah, logistics was there. It is in day in, day out in each and every of us life. But after 2020, when the COVID arrived, incidentally we got essential services stack. That as a logistics and the supply chain industry, they comes into the essential category. And that was the time when everybody realized and understand the need of the logistics. That how, when everybody was at the home saving their life, the last mile people were at the ground, delivering the shipments, essential goods to the individual's home. During that period only, lot of innovation in terms of the technology started, right? How you are going to deliver a shipment without touching, right? How you are going to take the, signature of a customer that the consignment has been received. A lot of innovation started that time. In a simple definition, if you ask me what logistics does, it connects. Very simple. When I say connects, it connects every business we are in. And if we understand the definition of connect, we understand the logistics. Logistics looks like a professional or as an industry. Today, when I'll just give you a very simple example. When we go through for nomination of, and my panelist friend can also agree with me, that when we go and finalize and register something, and when we start finding out the industry, unfortunately, we don't see a logistics being mentioned there. And we talk a lot about logistics, right? We will be saying that it's a transportation, and then nowadays few of the companies, or I would say few of the registration link, we could see that somewhere it is coming as a logistics. And thanks to COVID, rather I would say thanks to COVID, that bringing this specific thing into the mind of the government and the people. When it comes to human resource, and I was talking to Souvik, who actually arranged and invited me for this. I said, yeah, every guys who is the panelist list is a businessman. They understand business. I am the person only understand the people. So why you brought me here? So, okay, no issues. Maybe some of the question may be tough for me when you talk about the business. But when it comes to people, I would rather say that I am expert in that. I understand people. And when it comes to logistics, one of the pain area is about the last mile. And after quick e-commerce is coming and everybody is familiar with the Dunzo, Swiggy, Zomato, this is a complete disruption in this industry that way. Because everyone wants to, have a shipment at their doorstep, right? And when it comes to retention of the people, you're not able to retain them, because for 500 rupees, they jump from one place to another place. When it comes to understanding of a technology, you have to, have a very simplification or simplified training system where you can go and train them in a way so that they understand, right? So these are certain challenges which we see when it comes to last mile. Everybody says, I don't have a job, I don't have a job. A lot of berozgari is there, but I would say, where are the people who wanted to join us, right? The people are not available. Good thing which I am seeing nowadays, that a lot of people, I would say gig workforce, it's a very common name now coming into for the discussion, wherein the gig people in this area is coming up, and even the people, those who are graduated, even very qualified people, they are also coming in, delivering your packets for their pocket money or for their study, whatever you can call it, for 3-4 hours and 5 hours. Although those things are happening, but it is not going to be sustainable. Why? Because when you talk about delivering of shipment, you need people on the floor to deliver the shipment on time and right time, right? So definitely we'll be talking about more when we will go into the detailed question. I don't want to take much of time in terms of understanding of my knowledge in logistics, but rather we'll be looking for the questions and of course learning from my colleagues.
Thank you, Shiv sir, for sharing your journey with us so candidly and also your inputs on last mile. I could see Jaspal sir nodding along as well when you were speaking. So I'll move the question to him, and sir, if you can share your thoughts as well on the same.
Thank you so much. And to the panelists, I heard a lot about you. So Shiv, thank you so much. I guess I'm seeing you good after 21 years, and thanks to the platform gave my XLRI to see you again. So I still remember seeing you when you're in Narayana office in 2001. So that's why I was more interested in hearing you. How the HR thinks about logistics.
Yeah.
So to Malika and everybody in XLRI, I would say that this group is very fortunate. Way in back in 2001, when I planned to do my supply chain management, I guess I had nothing to see or hear, no panel, no information I had. All that I knew is that this is the industry that would go a future, and I should select my supply chain management as a subject for my MBA. And trust me, in my selection when I was doing, there were no colleges in India which probably were doing this, and the only college I could found who could fit my pocket was Lumba during those days. As Lucknow University was giving a specialization in supply chain, and I chose to be myself to be there. And all my fellow colleagues were going into international marketing, and all the big Z's were there, and I was the only one going to supply chain. So today I feel fortunate after 20 years that I chose the right profession for myself. And I've only said that in the last 2 decades, what exactly had changed. In the early days of my being a student, I used to hear GST. GST aega, whether it will come Congress aayegi, BJP aayegi, but finally I see the GST is here. That's a big change I see, which was a big change which brought into how supply chain is seen and how the distribution is seen. that GST gave us in the country. Second, we used to always hear, like my fellow colleague Dhaval said about e-com businesses, Amazons of the world. So we did hear about Amazon when in the early days of my college days, but today we see that we are living that. So today, anything which I need to order, I only think about e-com. So that's a change which has happened in the last 2 decades for us. In the early days, you say, go down. Kaam maal pada, go down mein pada hua hai. So I guess we all learned a word called warehousing and logistics. We said that no, there's nothing called as go down, it's a warehouse. So we now call no more a word used as go down, we call it warehouses. Earlier, the trucking system was all open. Anything you send, you ship, you just send a truck. Today, we always call a truck should be something which is a containerized. So that's a change that has happened in the ecosystem for the country, which I would say that is how, like after two decades, I see even the country is moving towards NLC. We have a national logistics policy today. So I feel myself proud to be part of this industry, that the country is making a policy for it, and it's a way that how the entire business will move forward in the country. And if we have this document in our hand, it loudly says that how we're going to shape up the country. Because without the logistics, I guess we cannot shape up the business in the country. Being associate for many multinationals, we always used to heard compliance. But today, I guess that has become part of our DNA. Anything that we want to do, the first thing we want to follow is a compliance, which was probably a jargon 2 decades ago, which probably the Western countries used to use. Today, that is something which we all believe and love to follow. That's a change which has come even in the logistics industry. So since my childhood, we always used to believe, cut jayega, ye mat karo, wo mat karo. Our parents used to safeguard everything. But the culture of safety was never in the organizations. So today, I proudly believe is that and feel that whenever we get into our work environment, into logistics environment, safety is the first culture that has come in everybody. So that's a big change I see in the supply chain. Safety has come first. Before you do anything, the safety comes first, and that's a culture which has gone in everybody. 2 decades ago, or maybe a decade ago, we used to fool around a customer. The customer was never a babe. We used to say, okay, to Bangalore will take 4 days, 5 days. To sir, wo Kanyakumari bahut time lagega. Sir, there's Naxalite there. Today, the customer is educated. So logistics becomes something, suppose even we order something on Amazon platform, we know that this is going to come tomorrow at evening 6 p.m. and bang on, you hear the doorbell and the delivery happens. So that's a visibility that has come in the supply chain. So means visibility is something which has been a boon to every customer who are believing in supply chain. So I guess for every customer, visibility has become key, and supply chain has brought in the visibility to everybody. Focusing, I guess, one thing which has become very gung-ho with everybody, and today, half of these startups are only selling last mile. A tech-based logistics company selling only last mile, and they're only selling speed. No wonder when they would deliver, but the only thing they are selling is the speed in the market through their tech support, and that has become a new jargon in the world, last mile. And I guess today, all of us are going to spend a lot of time on last mile. Touching base, something which is very close to my heart is diversity. So 20 years ago, I guess diversity was a very big challenge in the industry. And today, even if I see in the panel, not in the panel, sorry, I would say, Shiv, next time we should say that even the panel should have diversity if it is a logistics connect, because that is very close to my heart. And today, half of my employees and the staff which I select, I guess diversity has become key. And logistics has started seeing diversity. And I will vouch with Shiv that that is something which has changed in our entire ecosystem of logistics. And one thing lastly, which I would touch upon is ESG. That is a new word that everybody is selling now in the logistics, sustainability. So without even knowing what is going to happen is that the world is only talking about EV vehicles, and that is how they can reduce the carbon footprint. But I personally do not feel that reducing only the carbon footprint through fuel will reduce. There's a lot around which we need to do beyond EV. So I leave that thought, and probably I'll connect more during the panel discussion, not taking too much of time. But the only thing I would like to say as an opening is that the change which has come for our students, especially in the college today, they have all the possible access to understand what is logistics, which probably 2 decades ago, maybe I and Shiv did not have. So this is a blessing, I would say, and you should capitalize to the maximum. and all the best for everybody to select this subject and move into this, go deep into the career for logistics. Thank you.
Thank you, Jaspal, sir, for that truly insightful input and about reshaping the industry. So speaking of reshaping, I think who better than Sumit, sir? I think you talk a lot about how you're bridging the gap between technology and retail. So sir, if you can tell us a little bit about your journey at Arzu and the trends going forward.
First of all, thank you for inviting me. And I think it's a great learning opportunity for me as well to learn for my co-panelist. I think a lot of, I think everyone has touched upon variety of topics, right? In terms of the importance of logistics, right? And just wanted to throw one, let's say, fact sort of a thing. So when I graduated as a mechanical engineer in 2010, we joined, 250 people joined with me at GETs in India's largest automobile company, right? And probably, I think if I remember correctly, 5 to 6 people just choose the supply chain. Rest, everyone wanted to go into R&D, quality, right? They were fascinating names like that. If I see those, let's say my friends now, half of them are into logistics, let's say in one way or another, right? So that's the shift that has happened. And probably, I'll be honest, I was also not aware that, okay, what does logistics do? At that time, we used to consider supply chain as part of procurement. They just procure goods for the company, right? So that has it. That's the change that has happened, right? If I see my batchmates, 50% of more than them are working in supply chain in different parts of the, let's say, facet. In terms of the journey, right? I think the key people I think I want to highlight is like people mentioned in supply chain. It's very critical. You have to deal with a lot of people, right? And that's where importance of even if you are designing processes, right? You have to implement whatever the strategy that is there from the top to down. It's the required field that you sort of break it down and inculcate into the people's behavior. Right? It takes a lot of time to make everyone learn, unlearn and learn, I would say, right? So that they can become a part of your individual organization. Every organization nowadays has different goals. If I talk about e-commerce, the broader goal is to deliver faster, right? For quick commerce, it's deliver further faster. But if you see, that's the last touch point that you have with the person who is coming to deliver goods into your house, right? How you shape that behavior from top to down so that the goods are moving intactly and you are having a right delivery experience. This has been a challenge across, right? Companies has been struggling to hire, train, and then keep retention, like Shiv sir mentioned, right? Retaining the people, because again, if you are hiring a fresh new guy, it's hard you have to spend the entire energy again for them to become a part of your entire team and follow the process. Right. From Arzu's perspective, currently we are into B2B again. B2B, if I look at the expectation of the customer, right? Broadly, customer expects 3 things. One is they should have selection on the platform. They should have right pricing. That's where there is no loyalty. Let's say in India as of now, right? Wherever there is a discount, the customer goes there, right? And third becomes a delivery experience, like how seamless the goods are coming. Is it a consistent experience that you are able to provide? If you are promising X days, are you able to deliver that, right? So in Arzu, broadly, we are trying to do the same, trying to make sure that the goods are reaching 40,000 retailers to them so that they can further sell it, be par with the online giants that we have, let's say Flipkart, Amazon, and then they can compete with the local markets. The another point I want to highlight here is that still, I think a lot of, let's say, technological driven logistics is limited at, let's say, tier 1 or sort of a metro cities, right? If you still go into tier 2, tier 3 cities, none of these, let's say, quick commerce startups have started playing any game there, right? Any major role. And that becomes, then that can be a question of why, right? The question becomes, are these models, let's say, sustainable without scale? Because if you see people who are involved here going to deliveries, if you just do a rough calculation, most of the startups right now are working into the optimization of the supply chain costs, right? If you see, everyone talks about profitability, because supply chain has become the biggest cost element for all these e-commerce for online players, right? And that's where the optimization becomes very important. That okay, how do you optimize your supply chain? How do you deliver, but you deliver in a very less cost, right? I'll just close it at that note so that we can discuss it further. That okay, what is what different techniques people are using and different strategies every company has.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Sumit sir, for putting your points so crisply. And also, thank you all the other panelists. You have set the base for this discussion. You have highlighted the key areas in your own domains. The importance of collaboration in the supply chain industry, the multimodality of the supply chain industry, the human factor, and also the culture that Jaspal sir spoke about. It's very important for this industry and the future trends that it will bring in. So continuing with the discussion and taking the discussion forward, I would now try to emphasize the point that technology is the very big aspect which would affect the supply chain industry in the future. And as we know it, Loginext is a global technology firm that is known for its delivery automation platform. What innovative solutions or technology is Loginext implementing to improve operational efficiency and enhance customer experience in the APAC region? So I would request Dhaval sir to please share his thoughts on this.
Okay, so if you look at any logistics tech platform today, right, what are they trying to solve for? They're trying to solve for two things: cost and customer experience, right? How do you deliver fast? How do you deliver on time? And how do you deliver in a cost-effective manner? Because cost and time are two opposing constraints. If I have to deliver fast, it's going to cost more. If I have to deliver, after 5 days, it'll cost me less because I get economies of scale, right? Think about an e-commerce customer. You've got one order coming in from one location, say Delhi, Bombay. To deliver that one order, you're going to deploy a certain amount of infrastructure, certain amount of vehicles, warehouses, etc. to do that delivery. It's going to cost you based on the dynamics involved, right? But if I have to do the same delivery to 10 customers in the same location, the cost gets distributed over 10 customers, right? So I get economies of scale. That's why you see most of these e-commerce companies are all very scale intensive, right? You see big billion days, hundreds of thousands of orders pouring in every day. And that's the only way to make logistics effective when you have good economies of scale, right? So what we try to do as a platform is we use data and we use technology, we use machine learning, we use all of these interesting tools and algorithms at our disposal to solve this time and cost equation, so that we're able to help our clients deliver fast and deliver cost effectively. That's really, if I have to put it in a very, very simple way, that's really what we try to do. Okay. Now, there is a lot of heavy lifting that goes behind making this proposition a reality. Like, how do you deliver fast and how do you deliver profitably? It's a very easy statement to make, but to deliver this statement, I'm sure all my friends on the panel will agree as well. That's really, really hard. It's, logistics probably is the hardest part of any business. Everything else can still be handled, right? So that's where our platform becomes important in terms of helping connect, different data points, location data, warehouse data, and also, this extends beyond last mile. We've got customers who are using our platform for all mile deliveries, right? Where there are multiple legs in the delivery. You've got multiple milestones. You've got pickup, you've got hub to hub movements, you've got hub to last customer location movements, etc. And this could be for B2B, this could be for B2C. So it's kind of all over the spectrum. And that's one of the, real high points of our platform. We've built it and we are building it as we speak in a manner that makes it use case agnostic, and a manner that makes it industry agnostic, and in a manner that makes it geography agnostic as well. So, whether it is a small transportation company in Africa that is trying to use that platform versus a large courier express parcel company in North America that is trying to use it, versus a grocery retail chain, a large grocery retail chain in Southeast Asia which is trying to use it, they all are able to automate and optimize their logistics on our platform. That's something that we really take a lot of pride in. Now, how do we do this? We do this by solving for 5 important personas in logistics, and I'm sure all of us would have heard about these personas, and especially for students, that's another interesting thing that you guys can take away from this. The 5 important personas in logistics are the dispatcher, the shipper, the carrier, the delivery associate or the driver, and the customer. If you think about it, any logistics in the world, B2B, B2C, will involve one or more of these 5 different personas. Okay. And to give you an example, because that's really connected to how our platform, creates value for all these 5 different personas. Again, let's talk about Amazon, because we're all aware of Amazon and we know how, Amazon works, because we're all customers and we keep ordering stuff from e-commerce platforms, right? So if you look at Amazon, let's say you as a customer are placing an order on the Amazon app for, say, Nike shoes. Okay. What happens now? This order is accepted by Amazon, and Amazon is going to notify the seller, in this case, Nike, which is also called as a shipper, right? Nike is the shipper. So Amazon is going to let Nike know that, hey, here's a customer who wants your product. Now, Nike has to ship these goods to the end customer. In this case, Amazon, who is the dispatcher, as we call it, can actually have its own fleet, wherein as Amazon, I can have my own delivery people who can go and pick up the item from the Nike warehouse. It could be anywhere in the world, anywhere in the country. Let's say you place an order from Mumbai and this particular product is in the Gurgaon warehouse. Then my dispatcher's delivery team, the delivery associate, will figure out a way to get the product from the Gurgaon warehouse onto the end customer location. In which case, this is the delivery associate persona that I was talking about. Sometimes I may choose to use a third-party carrier. Okay, I may not have enough people, or I may not have the ability to do this delivery because it is at a location where I can't send my trucks or my vehicles, and I have that constraint. I can tap into the carrier ecosystem, and I can use a FedEx or a XYZ to do that delivery for me. Okay, in which case I pass on the order to FedEx. FedEx goes to the Nike warehouse, picks up the shoe, and figures out the delivery to the end customer. So in this example, FedEx becomes the carrier. So if you guys visualize this entire, order life cycle, from the time the customer orders it till the time the customer gets the product delivered at their doorstep, these 5 personas come into play. Dispatcher, which is Amazon; shipper, which is Nike; carrier, which is FedEx; delivery associate, which is Nike's own person who's doing the last mile delivery, perhaps in this case; and customer, which is the end customer who's placing the delivery. And if you can solve for these 5 personas, including the customer, right? When we talk about visibility, we talk about customer experience, we're talking about real-time updates and notifications and alerts to customers, right? Where customer can actually see, once I've placed my order, from the time I place my order till the time I get my order, I get full visibility of the order lifecycle, including things like the order has been picked up, it has been dropped at a nearby hub, now it is traveling from Delhi to Mumbai, now it's at the Mumbai hub, now it's going to get delivered to you today evening, today morning, etc., etc. So visibility for each of these stakeholders, ease of use for each of these stakeholders, and automation for these stakeholders. Because without automating this entire order lifecycle, you cannot create value for the cost and time equation that I was talking about. Unless I have solid automation and solid optimization across this entire order lifecycle, I won't be able to deliver on time, and I won't be able to deliver profitably, right? So that's really, like, I wanted to sort of share this example so that it becomes easier for you guys to understand how a logistics automation platform impacts the order lifecycle. And our platform does a beautiful thing of bringing all of these personas together and allowing the dispatcher, Amazon in this case, to set up and optimize their entire operations on our platform, which may include things like same-day delivery, next-day delivery, 5-day delivery, 1-hour delivery. Amazon Fresh does like 1-hour, 2-hour deliveries. So whether you're ordering a sofa or a mobile phone or an iPad or a box of apples, any and every item will have its own order life cycle based on the time and cost aspect of it. And how do you help customers deliver value across time and cost is what a logistics automation platform really does. And we do this through a lot of location-based intelligence. We have billions of location data points on our platform, because whenever a delivery is happening, all of that is happening and it is being tracked through our delivery associate app, right? We have websites and apps which are used by all of these different personas that I spoke about, and that becomes the source of data that keeps coming into our platform, which continues to make our platform more and more intelligent, where we can predict routes. We can say, hey, if you want to do this delivery, take this route. And this route could be a multi-leg route as well. It could be a all-mile use case where you have a courier express parcel situation where you're moving a parcel from New York to Helsinki or New York to Shanghai, right? Where there are multiple routes involved. There is a sea route, there's an air route, there's a ground route, there is movement between hubs. You can imagine the complexity that exists across these kind of deliveries. And you can drive a lot of predictive analytics around this. You can drive route selection. You can make recommendations around what is the best route to take at different points in time based on the kind of shipments, based on the kind of customer SLAs, etc., to ensure that you're able to solve this time and cost equation effectively, so that you're able to deliver on time and you're able to deliver profitably. And that's what our platform really does, and especially in APAC and Middle East and Africa markets, where sometimes technology adoption, let's say Africa, for example, technology adoption can be a challenge, right? Because while if you're able to achieve good amount of automation, you can achieve these benefits of cost and customer experience. But to be able to get there, you need to get people onboarded on the platform. You need to get the customers onboarded on the platform. So that is where there is a lot of work that is required in driving or evangelizing the use of technology, so that all your different stakeholders, from your drivers and shippers and all of them, come on board, and you're able to create this seamless experience for all of these customers. And one more thing, on a closing note, considering specifically Southeast Asia or APAC as a market that is beginning to take shape recently, is this whole aspect of using third-party riders, right? Especially, I'll just talk about QSR as one of the categories, in which we have a lot of customers. So quick service restaurants, they really have this very specific problem of managing peak time deliveries, right? Usually, most of my demand surges around the lunch and the dinner time. That's when I get maximum number of orders as a QSR restaurant, right? Now, most of the QSR restaurants have their own delivery people. And during these peak lunchtime rush, they obviously fall short of delivery folks because of the demand supply part, right? And therefore, a lot of their deliveries get delayed because the delivery people are busy doing deliveries, but simply the order volume that you have is too high, and therefore you're not able to meet the delivery timelines. Now, they can't expand their fleet by adding more delivery people because that becomes a fixed cost for them. And especially after the lunchtime rush, those delivery folks will be idling because there won't be enough orders for all of them to get to utilize their capacity better. So that's a very unique problem, and they want to really solve it through technology or through automation or through ecosystem, as we talk about. And one thing that we've been doing to address this issue for QSR chains across Southeast Asia and APAC is this thing that I spoke about earlier, which is automated carrier integrations with third-party riders. So all these other rider networks like Grab and Food Panda and all of these food delivery networks, they offer delivery as a service where you can have an integration between your logistics automation platform, in our case Loginext, integrates into a Grab Express or a Food Panda or a Uber Eats. And every time our client has a demand surge where they have more orders than what they can fulfill with their own riders, they can automatically pass these orders on to these third-party delivery platforms, and they can do deliveries for them. And this entire process is fully automated. So the moment I have more orders coming in, Loginext will automatically intelligently decide that, okay, I have less number of riders and there are more orders coming in. All the riders are busy doing orders. It'll automatically start searching for third-party riders available in the region. It'll find out which one is matching the cost and value criteria, because each of these third-party riders will have different cost agreements with the client. Let's say a QSR chain, right? So somebody would be providing better reach, but maybe charging you more per delivery, versus someone who's providing lesser reach and charging you less per delivery, right? So depending on all of these different cost parameters, Loginext intelligently decides which is the right carrier partner to ping for this particular order, especially in situations where I'm running out of my own riders. and it intelligently identifies that carrier. Let's say in this case, if it is PandaGo, it'll push the order to Food Panda. Food Panda carrier will accept the order. It'll go and do the delivery on my behalf. And all of this is happening across hundreds of thousands of orders all across SEA. And it's fully automated, zero human involvement. It's a fully automated intelligent system. As soon as the order comes, it figures out who's the right rider, assigns the order to the rider gets notified, the customer gets notified, the rider goes out there, picks up the order, does the delivery for the customer. And all orders get delivered within 20 to 30 minutes, no matter whether it is a peak time or a non-peak time and so on. So that's really the beauty of something like, you know, a logistics automation platform where you can set up your operations, you can automate your operations, you can tap into third-party carriers, you can tap into ecosystems to ensure that you're able to solve the time and cost equation, where you're able to deliver on time at a optimized cost. And that's really, you know, in a nutshell, what we do as a platform.
Thank you so much, Dhawal sir. You actually covered it very holistically. As we have understood through the discussion so far, that logistics and supply chain is a very complex industry, and as and when the need arises, it evolves. So like you suggested, that Loginext has understood the pain point of the shortages of delivery suppliers, and you have come up with an innovation where you connected with the third-party vendors, which is very disruptive, and it would also be required as and when the demand goes. So thank you so much for that. Now continuing with the discussion, I understand that the trends in the industry are changing very rapidly, and after the COVID, it has become we had it in our discussion this before, that after COVID, logistics has come in a spotlight. So now I would request Mr. Vasu to address us on how Transporion has approached the selection and implementation of supply chain technology solutions. And sir, can you provide an example where you successfully evaluated and deployed a new technology that improved the efficiency or customer satisfaction?
So I think it's a very interesting question. I think there probably the answer is bit layered. So please bear with me, right? If you look at a company like Transporion is a technology company, right? I think if you look at technology companies 15, 20 years back, right? Maybe I'll give you an example of the company that is now acquired Transporion. Trimble is an American company which has acquired Transporion, right? So a lot of different verticals, I think, like different speakers have mentioned, are much ahead in terms of digitization as compared to logistics and transportation. So this transformation of the technology is much, or there probably, if you look at retail or if you look at finance or media or something, right? It's yeah, you have these software suppliers who have already taken several steps to their clients compared to, let's say, logistics and transportation software suppliers. So the big difference I see between the companies like Trimble and Transporion. Trimble has bought Transporion just a few months back. The software now is mostly people are buying software as service, right? The SaaS-based solutions is really a norm, and the previously that was not the case, right? People used to supply the software as license fee. So people used to get these softwares and licenses. They used to install locally, and then that is how it used to run. I think this is now in a way is split into two parts. One part is you have still that kind of software which you run, but not necessarily on your laptops, but maybe on your mobile phones or some other smart devices that you have, which are basically IoT enabled, right? These devices are really important in logistics. And then you have basically the platforms where the platform is provided as a service to the people who are paying for this software. In a way, right, this is a big change I've seen, not necessarily pandemic driven, but basically there is no, if you have a software that is literally being used or sold on the license model that I was talking about, there's still a huge amount of use of these kinds of software. We know that because Trimble is still making a lot of business or still getting a lot of revenues out of this kind of software, right? Well, the advantage there is like the people who are using these kinds of softwares are logged in, right? So they have these softwares installed on their local servers or whatever laptops, and it's not as easy as to switch to a kind of a service-based provider from that point onwards, unless of course you make your business, you transform your business to completely different model. So that is where the industry is moving, right? I think you are either a platform provider or you are basically an IoT based software provider who kind of run device on specific devices. And it is important for both these suppliers, right? I mean, one cannot exist without the other. I think we've seen Dhaval mentioning that these how it works in the last mile delivery, right? The platform gets this data from the IoT devices. Yeah, it could be mobile devices, it could be directly from the truck, it could be from the container, it can be from any device. Literally, it could be a gate that is sitting there, which is constantly detecting the traffic that is going in, coming out, and the platform is the one which is collecting all this data, right? The key thing is the success of the platforms lies in the fact of the data collection, basically, and then data consolidation and making something smart out of this data. Otherwise, the platforms are literally not so smart, right? If you want to run AI, if you want to run machine learning, what do you need? You need data, right? So the devices are sending the data, the platforms are collecting the data and then building value on top of this data, and then they're kind of feeding that back to the end users, which could be business users, which could be business customers. But that is what is important. So I see this is where the technology is moving. There is a lot of buzz about AI. There is a lot of buzz about machine learning, right? I mean, of course, there's lots of problems that can be solved in a very smart way using these technologies. But they're employing traditional algorithms, right? Traditional algorithms like Dijkstra's shortest path algorithms. Still, right? If in its the logistics is in its infancy to really employ that kind of algorithms, even if you are looking at bigger picture of global logistics. That is I see how the technology moving for transport and overall global logistics.
Right. Thank you, Vasu sir, for that and for letting us know how technology is shaping the industry as well as your business on the whole. Steering the discussion in a bit of a different direction, I'd like to address my next question to Shiv sir. So I know there's been a lot of talk about last mile delivery as well as the technology play in supply chain. I wanted to understand from you, how does the human element come into play here? And what are the organizational steps you are taking to make sure the human resources are upskilled enough to serve in this dynamic world currently? Shiv sir. Okay, I think Shiv sir may be facing some connectivity issues. So are you here? Can you
No,
hear
no,
me?
you go ahead. You tell me.
Okay,
I actually got a call from my colleague. Yeah, tell me.
no problem, sir.
I could
So
not hear
I'll just
anything, so I was muted. So you just let me know what was your question. I'll answer that.
Sure, sir. So the question was, I know there's been a lot of talk today about last mile delivery as well as the role of technology in supply chains. Wanted to understand from you how your organization and the industry as a whole is reshaping the human element or the human factor to work into this dynamic industry currently. And as a person from HR and a person who's more people-centric, like you said, what steps can we as leaders of the future also take?
Thank you for asking the HR question. I was thinking that something related to business will come, but definitely the question which you are asking is related to business only. Today we are talking about the business partnering role, right? In each function. In fact, HR is one of that function where everybody need to think about the business. And until you have a business acumen, I don't think so you can run any of the function for the organization. If we talking about the technology and then how this technology is helping or basically changing the environment in a human aspect, as I said in the beginning when I was talking about the COVID and the logistics part of it, prior to this people were not knowing how to make the delivery without taking the DRS or without taking a POD signature, right? That was the first time when they thought about these things coming in. And the biggest challenge in front of us was that how are we going to train our employees? Because today, training an employee at that level, when I talk about the last mile people, they are not well educated people, right? They don't know ABCD of computer. They don't know any ABCD of system, right? And training in their language in a very shorter period of time becomes very difficult. So we as an organization, of course, along with us, there are multiple organizations who actually took step that how they are going to train people in terms of the product, in terms of the services, in terms of the delivery, that how they need to deliver the shipment. The LMS part of it. Today, if you have heard, you must be heard about that LMS, learning management system, which people used to call in the earlier days. And today, nowadays, also people call it as a learning management system. But this has been transferred from LMS to mobile training system, actually. MTS, you can call it in a shorter way. You have an app which is available in your pocket, right? And you can gain your knowledge and can correct yourself anytime by logging into it. We talk about a lot about the technology, but people also need to understand how to operate the technology, right? Thus, the training part comes in between. People go for a delivery after understanding it, but are they doing the right delivery? Are they doing the right processing? Who is going to tell them at the ground that you are doing wrong, you are doing correct? So keeping that in mind, we sign up with one of the company, which is again a startup organization, very good guys. And they brought a system wherein an individual go and simulate, or you can say they go by AI tool where they practically go feel, touch, and take the training. So for example, if I am going for a delivery, if I have to go for a delivery, what are the steps I need to follow? Normally, if you go by standard training system, there is a PPT and it will all talk about all ABCD things and action and where people go and understand it. After that also they will make the mistake. Because today world training, nobody takes seriously. Nobody takes seriously. Everybody talk about training, but nobody takes seriously. This is one of the things which I wanted to tell each and everybody. Wherever you go, wherever you head, wherever organization you work, if you are really at a leading position, please ensure that you create an awareness that the training is important. It should not only by our statements, but it should be in our action also. So if I have to go for a training, if I have to go for a delivery, what are the steps I need to follow? The similar way, there is a program which has been designed wherein an individual follow each and every step. And by any chance, if there is a wrong step being followed, that AI tool is not going to allow a person to move ahead. Does the people understand, okay, this is how they need to, work on it. This is how they need to pack the packet, right? So these are certain things which is there in the people aspect, wherein we feel that the simplification of knowledge to be placed in a mobile app where people can go and understand the thing and apply it in a day-to-day life, right? When we talk about technology, and as I mentioned that, who is going to drive the technology? It's people. Today, if you talk about a sorting machine, I still remember those days when, people used to create a manifest. Those who understand the logistics very well, they will understand it very, can connect that. The manifest is something where you need to receive the shipment from, like in our company, the channel partner who bring the shipment, we used to create a manifest by hand, put a weight by hand, and everything we were doing manually. When computer came into the logistics, okay, there is a system being created, a software being generated, where people need to receive every shipment by scanning, and then automatically it's get registered into the system. People started saying ki this will take away our job, right? People started saying that this will take our job. Hum isko seekhenge nahi. And later today, when I ask people a question that, do you want to start the manual work again? They said, no, sir, we are fine with having this technology with us, right? Why? Because it helps in speeding the system efficiency, bring in. The only thing which I wanted to give a message to everybody that technology should not be threat for the employment. It should not be threat. It should be considered as, because today, agar sorting machine bhi laga, to usko button दबाने के लिए भी आपको आदमी चाहिए, right? अगर आपको shipment उसको उठा के रखना है तो उसके लिए भी आदमी चाहिए. Today, I'm sure going forward in future days, the robotic solution, the drone system and everything will come in, right? That will come. But somebody need to start that button. Somebody need to understand how to operate this machine. So my, in fact, you call it a request or whatever, or maybe if you can create awareness that technology should not be a threat to the people when we talk about people, because without people, we can't run the business. Technology can increase our efficiency, but people can ensure that we are there in the system and technology is surviving. So that's all from my end.
Thank you, Shiv sir, and thank you for talking about how technology and people must work hand in hand rather than against one another. Yeah. I'll now move on to Dispal sir. So I know you have over 2 decades of experience under your belt, and you also specialize in 4PL. So what we wanted to understand is if you could share insights on the strategies that you've adopted over the decades, given the evolving industry and the economy, and how models like 4PL have come into play here.
Thank you. Probably, I guess everybody was talking too much of technology. I'll just take one moment on technology because I really wanted to share my thought on the technology piece with the peer group and the students also. If I have to say, the Indian logistics is split into 2 schools. One is an old thought of school where I would come, and probably I would say even Shiv would come from there. Another side, I would say Dhaval and Vasu. Is that who are the customers or who are the industry who really need technology? Dunzos of the world and Zepsos of the world have come. Did we ever heard a customer saying that they need a grocery in 10 minutes? I go and meet my customers and they say that Jaspal, we need a shipment in 3 days from Delhi to Bangalore. I said, okay, no problem. I'll send that in 3 days. But is it that your warehouse is fully equipped and there is a sufficient space that I can rush in the product in that? So we all need to understand technology is a boon, right? But it is equally a problem which most of us are facing in the business because of the overselling of tech has disrupted the supply chain in terms of cost. And there are many organizations who are burning money in terms of tech, where actually the need is not there. Maybe I can understand there would be some set of customers who would be gung-ho about tech and they would like. So See, I would see, because I assume that this is the platform where I need to speak a heart and not need to promote my company. I belong, lead a supply chain tech company, but I need to be very honest to the students here that how the economy is working and what is the need of the customer. So technology is good. I guess I am a great fan of AI, and now most of us are now working towards chat GPT. But we need to understand, what does a customer want? Is it that we are into a rat race that somebody is delivering in 10 minutes and I also need to do in 10? No, this is the brainchild of some people who sell their business model and make a money out of it. I have spent half of my life working for multinationals, but the deep core is that we need to take care of customers and put the information in the right forum so that they are not cheated. The national logistics policy is all about bringing speed in the supply chain. No wonder what I do on the tech. If my road and the equipment on the road is not equipped to reach to the speed, what would I do in adding a speed to my Google? When today I leave my home, it shows the ETA of 4 hours. But is it that the roads and the infra and the traffic is going to support for 1 hour delivery? So it is a selling tool that we are selling in the market, but the reality is much far away from. I'm sorry, maybe few of the panels might not agree with me, but that is the true reality of the ground with the set of customers. We are just following a rat race. If some startup has does, we have to do because we should not be behind. We have investors behind and we cannot blow our money. So it's a great eco chain system which is going through it. And I would not like to drag it too far because it pains my heart a lot when we burn our money. And coming from an old school, something which is important in my business is my bottom line. And I would not burn my money for the sake of to be in a rat race. And then I can satisfy and bring a customer satisfaction with a word of mouth, meeting them regularly. That still can come. Moving to the question which was put to me in terms of the 4PL environment. Yes, I guess the change of the 4PL environment first time came when the GST move was happening, when the smaller organizations or the truck operators were moving out and they could not bear the transition of GST, and the bigger supply chain companies and the partners came in the model. Second big change which happened in the COVID environment, where the small time operators could not sustain the loss of cash during the COVID and they could not sustain. So the needle changed after the COVID environment that we really need to work with large partners who have deep pockets and sustain the business. So if you ask me, I am a big fan of 4PL and 5PL, where we try to position a customer or an industry saying is that you need not manage couple of partners, you should have one partner. Typically, the word we use is the lead logistics service provider. You have one provider, one window who takes care of everything. If I have to take an example in terms of your college, there is one window which does the counseling, everything, helps the students for the introduction. They need not go for different departments. So that is how the 4PL and LLP has been identified in logistics industry, which is a one-time solution, which is a one-window solution who manages multiple partners under them, helps to give a very transparent logistics cost and efficiency and services to them. So say suppose if today I am a customer who has a service provider who has 4 different trucking companies, 5 different warehousing organizations, and 5 different custom clearance brokerage organizations. But we present ourselves as one logistics service provider who will manage the 10 different service providers under them, and we tell what is the logistics cost to them. Yes. So the needle is changing in the industry where people are moving from, so people have already moved from 1PL to 2PL to 3PL. And now the change is coming from completely moving from 3PL to 4PL and 5PL. And that's the future, how the overall ecosystem in the logistics will change now.
Thank you, Jaspal sir. Thank you for summing that up very quickly and appropriately and holistically. I'll get your.
Just wanted to add one point to what Jaspal just mentioned, and also tying it to what Shiv sir spoke about, right? So absolutely with you on that, Jaspal. I think it's really important as an industry for us to understand that we solve the right problems. We apply technology and resources and understanding to solve the right problems. Quick commerce, I'm sure all of us on this panel will agree, is the wrong problem. Okay, you can build a very elegant, sophisticated solution for a problem which actually doesn't exist. Maybe people don't want a loaf of bread to be delivered at their house in 10 minutes. And you're trying to engineer a beautiful solution that allows you to deliver a loaf of bread in 10 minutes. It's a fantastic solution to a wrong problem. And that's where you're losing money, time, effort, etc., which could have been deployed elsewhere. Because every time you put technology or mind or experience to something, you're not putting it to something else, right? The whole opportunity cost concept. If the money is deployed to solve the wrong problem, some right problems are getting deprived of a solution. And that's why I think as an industry, we all, in whatever shape or form we can, evangelize this whole mindset of solving the right problem. That's really, really super important. And also to this quick point that Shiv sir mentioned, right? The technology coming in, people's jobs obviously should become better. They don't become redundant. Like you rightly mentioned, if you're bringing in drones and you're bringing in more sophistication in tech, what it does is it helps people improve the kind of work they do. And I think we deal with this, when we talk to some of the people on the ground who are implementing our platform and technology and all of that. This is the stuff that our operations folks, sort of emphasizes on that. Look, if you adopt a new technology, it makes your job a lot more fun and a lot more interesting, right? It's not something which is taking away your job. So you shouldn't resist adopting the technology. Like you just rightly mentioned about the whole in-scan, out-scan mechanism. You now have scan to assign. You have a shipment, you scan it. Instead of manually creating the manifest, it's a digital manifest which gets created automatically by scanning. And once you get used to that, your job as a manifest creator becomes a lot more easy and a lot more fun, as opposed to what it used to be earlier, and therefore a lot more error free as well. So you don't have too many escalations, you don't have too many mistakes, you don't have so many other issues to deal with. So if we are all able to again evangelize this aspect that every time a new technology comes in, it doesn't take away jobs, it just makes your jobs better and it makes your jobs more fun. Yes, but you need to upskill yourself as a resource. You need to upskill yourself and adapt to the new technology for you to become more effective with that new technology. And I think that's where the whole, again, messaging and narrative has to be focused on, that AI or ML or whatever it is that's going to come in is not going to take away jobs. It'll only make your jobs more fun, more interesting, more valuable. But you need to upskill yourself to be able to take advantage of that. And that's I think something that we should all, evangelize in whatever way we can. Sorry, just jumped in. Couldn't resist adding on to those points. Yeah.
Can I also respond a bit to Dhaval and Jaspal on this? I completely, I think the reason I'm jumping in also is because it's a very interesting discussion, and the points raised are really valid and relevant. There are problems that we are aware that are current problems. And then there are problems that are for future. There are problems that we will encounter in the future, right? I've been part of being a founder of a startup, and I know what happens in a startup process, right? And I know how the investment part of this startup process works, right? I mean, the investors are the people with money, and then they are betting their money against certain solutions, right? If you look at 10 startups, I think it's not an exaggeration to say only one of them will actually see the light of the day. Really, that is how the startup business works, right? So the investors are really, if I'm an investor, I have money to burn or to gamble, to bet. Then I pick up 2-3 such startups which probably have some commercial sense, or they're starting to show some commercial angle to their solution, and then invest early, right? And out of these 3, if one clicks and the other 2 fail, I'll still make a lot of money, right? That is how it works. I mean, all the 3 can also fail. That is how it works. And these people, of course, nobody can see what works in the future, what problems we will solve. But the early one to solve this problem of the future problem is the one that is going to make a lot of money. So in that sense, right, I mean, there's probably a lot of money that is being burnt on useless solutions. But I think in that sense, that's probably true for every domain, every area where that is how it works. But it also, in a way, encourages creativity, encourages innovative solutions as well. And I think that's the nature of the startup business, and that's the nature of the investments. And I don't think that is any different to any other vertical that we see. The other point I want to raise also is that it's very key we address the nervousness of people of the employments, or people losing the employment as a result of technology, right? You both have taken an optimistic approach there, which is good. I think we all should, really, because if you take away the activity from people, leave alone the livelihoods, right? I think the fundamental for people is to be able to survive. If I can't survive without activity, right? What will we do, really? We can't just eat and live and sleep, right? That is not simply possible. So any technology should, if it is taking away certain activities, right, it should generate more activity to people. It should still involve people in some way or the form. And I think as responsible businessmen, I think, or responsible leaders, that should be considered, because what we are trying to do with some of these technologies, there is a real risk that we are taking away mass amounts of jobs. I'm as optimistic as you both. I will have to say probably not. I think we need a fundamental change in our thinking, really, to avoid that. Thanks for that, for allowing me to jump in there. Thanks, guys.
Thank you, Dhaval sir and Vasu sir, to really bring a little different perspective to this discussion. And just to summarize the points made by Shiv sir, Jaspal sir, Dhaval sir, and Vasu sir, we understand that technology is the new game in the supply chain industry. And also, like Shiv sir rightly pointed out, that it has been anticipated as a threat, but also when Shiv sir made that point that, okay, there would be drones in future, but who would drive those drones? That is also an important aspect. And as a people of this industry, we will have to learn how to survive with technology. And also the point of Jaspal sir, where technology is the new game, but there are other sectors also that needs to work in collaboration with technology to improve these, like for the example, the fast delivery. So for that, the infrastructure needs to be improved. The collaboration among the delivery people needs to be improved. So there's a complete collaboration game that would be driving this industry in the future. And thank you so much, everyone, for making this important discussion. And moving forward with the discussion, my next question is to Sumit sir. Sumit sir, as we understand that the next big thing, or the big thing after COVID, is the rise of e-commerce and the increasing customer demands. So how is Arzu adapting its logistics and supply chain management strategies to meet these evolving customers' expectations?
Thanks. I think just wanted to add one point in terms of, let's say, because a lot of students are here, right, and being, let's say, graduated in the last decade. I think from a student's perspective, generally what we have seen is that for logistics, the face of logistics for most of, let's say, high-end, let's say, or could be school students are these e-commerce companies, right? I think I probably can say that none of you would want to work in a warehouse and understand what exactly logistics is, right? What exactly does it mean to load a truck, move it, speak with those transporters, reach at the destination at some time, right? Most of these, it looks fancy when let's say e-commerce companies come and their salary structures are different, right? In terms of traditional logistics player, right, which are more cost efficient and let's say always goes towards value for money, right? So I think that's where I think students needs to differentiate a bit, try to get some exposure towards if they can do some internship or part-time, try to understand how the industry works, right? You can always end up having internship with e-commerce companies, but try to work, see that in case you want to, you can spend a couple of days, let's say, in a warehouse and see that, okay, how does exactly a transportation or logistics industry work, right? It will give you a lot of exposure into problem solving, and also see all the human element into it, right? That, okay, what sort of people are there who are working, for whom you want to build, let's say, either tech solution or any process solution, right? Be it anything, right? Just coming back to the question, right? I think from a Arzu's perspective, right? We have been very clear on that, because we are a B2B and dealing in large goods, large consumer goods, right? So our focus is again that, okay, how can we deliver these goods under sort of a strict cost guardrails, right? Because we are moving bulky shipments, moving a fridge, refrigerator cost 10-20 times than a mobile phone that comes, right? And you have different challenges on handling. How do you handle a ref? You can't package sort of a refrigerator and move it across zones, right? So that is a challenge that right now we are trying to see, that how can we optimize our supply chain, again, be closer to the customers. So what we are trying to identify is what are our demand clusters, what are our supply clusters, right? And how can we link them and build sort of a warehousing or a network around that, so that the goods movement is minimized. If goods movement is minimized, then again, every movement is a cost, right? You have to spend on fuel, you have to spend on people. The more you move, there is chances that products will get damaged, right? So our focus broadly is that, okay, how can we be closer to the customer and the demand, let's say, supply centers? How can we predict our demand? One of the I think ignorant fact probably of the supply chain is that with e-commerce, right, a lot of demand or supply variability has come into play, right? Today, if you see any sales coming on earlier, let's say any traditional companies, for example, manufacturing companies, right? You won't see a major change in their month-on-month sales or a day-to-day sales, right? But if I talk about e-commerce, here the sale patterns are very, very abnormal. And then and the entire burden will come on the supply chain, because today you have to deliver 100 orders, tomorrow 200 again, a day after it might be 50, right? And within a cost guardrail. Now, within a day, you have to scale up, let's say, your supply chain to 2x and then again come down, right? That's one of the key challenge. Let's say I have been personally working from last couple of years that, okay, how can we balance both of these out? And which again goes into my bottom line, that, okay, how effective we can manage it, right? We can't scale, we can't double people, we can't double space if there is a sale going on. And the same, if there is lower sale, we can't cut down manpower, right? So this is one of the key angle that we have been trying to solve at Arzu, that, okay, how can we deliver a consistent experience? Like I earlier said, we don't want, let's say, a next day 2 hours or 4 hours delivery. Right now we are focusing on providing a 5 days, that's a broader delivery to the customers, and making sure we are consistent in that and optimizing our supply chain around that.
Thank you, Sumit sir, for that detailed answer about how Arzu is contributing to the ecosystem. I would like to thank all the speakers for contributing so diligently and in such a detailed manner and answering our questions very patiently. The batch as well has a couple of questions basis the discussion, sirs. So I'd like to open up the floor. The first question is from Ajay Bajaj. He has a question for Sumit sir as well as Jaspal sir. Ajay, can you please unmute your mic and ask your question?
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Malika, for the opportunity. And thank you, panel member, for such a diversified experience sharing. We've learned a lot from this session. So my basic question is for Jaspal sir and Sumit sir. I worked with for 7 years in automobile sector. So I would like to take a cue from Nitin Gadkari's statement that he made last year, that the logistics cost in India is nearly double that of China and the other developed countries like US and Europe. So what would be your take on that? How are we working on that? And second part to that would be, there are certain automobile companies which have shifted their transportation of the vehicles from road transport to actually to railways, as railways cost lower. Are we seeing a pattern in which the heavy movement will be done by the railways rather than the roadways, and what will be the impact going forward? Thank you, sir.
Is it for me?
Yes, so first for you, sir.
Okay,
The second
good.
I would like.
So
Thank you, sir.
I guess I generally do not follow political statements because being right from the heart of the operation, we understand what cost we are already delivering to the country. The national logistic policy very clearly says the cost of logistics in the country is 14%, which is a double digit. And if you have worked
Yes,
with
sir.
logistics, with automotive environment, the current logistics cost for any customer under the sun in the country is not beyond 10%. So how they have calculated, there had been multiple forums. We also wanted to know how have you calculated this double digit cost for the country? And you can, maybe Sumit also can vouch along with me that what is his cost? Definitely not 14%. Assume that if 14% is the logistics cost of a product, and what is the profit we're going to make in that? And the maximum pressure that sits is on the logistics. Everybody wants to squeeze down that cost. So typically, maybe in multiple forums, we try to understand how this 14% cost has been calculated. So we understood that this is not the logistics cost. This includes the cost of carrying the inventory, wastage, return. Put together is 14%. But the way the logistics is moving in the country, we easily see in a year's time, this numbers will be scaled down. And the policy itself will announce that a cost has come down below 10%. And that is how the government will take a pat for them. But as an industry, this number is already delivered. So I am not going, if you ask me, I am from the industry for almost more than 2 decades, delivering the cost to the customers' environment. But definitely government will take a tap and say that the cost has come down. But if you actually ask, nothing would change in the environment in next 1 year, and the cost will be seen drastically being down in terms of the numbers that they publish. Sorry, I have been very crude and honest because I would not like to give a statement. But this was very close to my heart and very open. So you can take it like, or if you want me to
Sure, sir. Sure.
put it very politely, then I would say, okay, we all are working towards it to bring it down. And next year you will see this number going down in the NLC.
Yes, sir. Even have worked in such an organization. Even we were concerned with the number they have presented, because based on their data, they presented that the cost of the logistics in India is approximately 14 to 16%, whereas in China it's approximately 10, and for the other developed nation like US and Europe it's 8%, giving a disadvantage of approximately 5 to 6% of the unit in case of India. And the second question, sir, was for the Sumit sir. So recently the auto.
Yeah, I think just on the first one,
Sure,
right?
sir,
So
sure, please.
if you want to understand logistics cost of any company, right? Just try to run through their balance sheet, right? I think, let's say these big companies do declare their cost structure, that, okay, how much cost they are incurring in which bucket, right? And you'll be able to clearly see, right, that, okay, is it 13%, is it less than 10%? I'll not comment on the numbers because it's very variable across industry, right? Which company, which sector you are working on, people have optimized their supply chain costs. But yeah, double digit cannot be, because it's unsustainable, right? If you see, let's say 10,000 rupees, let's say mobile, you are saying 1,400 rupees you are taking for shipping, or let's say it doesn't make sense, right? No one earn these sort of margins so that they can put the cost into their balance sheet, right? So just try from I think from students' perspective, I'll also see that whenever you see any numbers, right, try to do a rough back of the envelope calculation, right? That, okay, does this fits? Because a lot of times we just hear some number, right? That, okay, that is who is profitable, who is not, percentage of deliveries, right? Just try to do a rough estimate. Follow your real life example, that, okay, if you are buying something, how much, or if you are moving a good, let's say, you must have sent some parcel, let's say with Gati and all, right? So if you send, let's say, 15-20 kg back, is it costing you that much, right? So just try to relate your real life example. That will help a lot in this scenario.
Can I ask a follow-up question to you, Sumit, on that? I mean, I don't have any political affiliations, but I'm just thinking aloud on this figure of 14%, right? Of course, as a company who is trying to send out these goods, and what is balance sheets, it certainly looks like an absurd number, right? 14% for logistics. But is it possible that this number is reflecting entire logistics processes, which includes the inbound logistics, inbound supply chain to outbound supply chain, every possible player who is there in the supply chain. Is it possible that will be a better reflection of the number if you calculate all of that?
I think still it will be abnormal, but I would like just Paul sir mentioned, right? If you take the cost of holding inventory, let's say, right, wastages, a lot of inventory gets liquidated, get wasted, pilferage, right? Again, it will be a ballpark number, let's say range byte, right? But saying that it will be, let's say, 14% across the industry, that will not be the case. Still, I believe, right, that there will be some players who might have, let's say, unoptimized supply chain, which still are working on optimization. But broadly, for the, let's say, player who have been running the show since years, right, I don't think probably even adding all the costs, including your warehousing, inbound, outbound, which are typically, let's say, considered into fixed costs, still I don't think that it will go that high. Just Pastor, you want to add?
Vasu, I missed that point, which I agree with Sumit. The best thing probably in India, you can log into moneycontrol.com, download the balance sheet of any company, and trust me, the trading numbers which I see for large companies, if I have to spell out, I don't want to spell out their names. Many a times in my reviews, they say, "Well, your cost is pretty high." I see, no worry, you let me know what is the cost you want. I definitely see your balance sheet. What is the cost you're reporting in that? So most of the companies, which I say, if it is large FMCG, FMEG in the India, the cost is somewhere between 5 to 7%. And to make their balance sheet bad, they sometimes load the RM cost, also the raw material cost with their sourcing, which maximum I've seen in the balance sheets going up to 9%.
Okay.
So see, the truth is available. You know, somebody can just log in, download, and see, and the devil is there.
Makes
Sure,
sense.
Thank you. Thank you. That quite summarizes my query actually in that case. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, Sumit sir. Thank you, Jaspal sir, and thank you, Vasu sir, for jumping in with that add-on question. I'll now move to the next person, who's Abhishek Dimri, and he has a question for Shiv sir. Abhishek, you can carry on.
Good afternoon, Shiv sir. I'm Abhishek Dimri. Sun Tzu has famously quoted that line between order and disorder lies in logistics. Having served in a profession where logistics decide fate of nations, I understand the value of logistics. So my question is, with tremendous adoption of logistics and supply chain in urban areas, how is logistics going to impact and be implemented in our rural areas and tier 2 and tier 3 cities in the near future? Thank you, sir.
See, you have asked me a very tough question, and I don't think so. I won't be able to answer your question.
Sir.
You want me to pick it up, Abhishek?
Sir?
Want me to answer that for you?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please, sir.
Okay.
I don't know how you guys are choosing the question and asking it to the particular person.
Sir.
Probably I personally feel is that I am giving an interview to HR to probably find a job in your company now.
No, sir. Since you are
Abhishek, I'll tell you. So how the overall the cost structures are moving, you know. Somebody says that the cost and the lifestyle increases in the country as the GDP increases. So the per capita income in the country is now increasing. And so is the demand of a better lifestyle, which is increasing. So the needle is now moving from the tier 1 to tier 2 to tier 3.
Correct,
and if you see, the focus of all the companies now is more on the tier 3. Okay. So in terms of the expansion and the growth, I guess the road is almost there, and if you see today in terms of a order placement order of e-com, it has gone up to tier 4.
Okay.
Because the companies have felt the bigger masses are sitting not in tier 1, but rather in tier 2, tier 3, tier 4, where they do not have the access of the services which are available in tier 1. And the market is trying to capitalize their customer more in tier 2, tier 3.
Correct, sir.
Because they don't have access to those products what is sold in tier 1, and e-com has been a big platform for them to reach. So if e-com is reaching to tier 2, tier 3, so is the entire supply chain is moving towards the tier 3, tier 4 in terms of warehousing, transportation, people, everything. So it also embarks the employment opportunity, which is moving for the supply chain companies in tier 3, tier 4. So say suppose today, if I say 20 years ago, when you plan to go into Northeast in Five Sisters, everybody used to say, okay, let's stop in Guwahati and now you cannot go further.
Correct.
But today the reach has gone to every loo and corner. And so you see the government is promoting Northeast. So is the supply chain has reached there. So today, if you see the China border, what is you see a broad road, tankers, airports, everything, and you are available on the defense, it means that logistics has reached there.
Correct, sir.
So if today our defense systems have improved, it is logistics.
Very true, sir.
हम word सुनते हैं ना, so logistics support improve हो गया, so is the military and the empowerment of the country has grown. It means logistics have embarked.
And add on to this, his point in Jaspal, Abhishek. Today, when you see in urban areas, you don't have any issue because you get wherever you wanted to have a delivery, right? But when it comes to hills, right? Let's take the example of Kedarnath. Today, everybody is going there, right? If you wanted to send a shipment to Kedarnath, which company is going to deliver that? Is any company has the reach to that particular location?
India Post.
India Post, right? But if you talk about the corporates or the logistic industry or the last mile organization, which company has? I don't think so. Anyone I have seen till now, even for us also as an organization, we don't have anyone at a Kedarnath, where we can deliver the shipment. But today, the organizations are thinking towards that. Right? They wanted to reach each and every corner of India, whether it is Kedarnath, whether it is Gangotri, whether it is Kanyakumari, whether it is, at the last village of India, they wanted to have, right? I don't know, you guys have heard, I'm sure you must have heard about the PUDO system, pick up and drop system, right? There are companies are working towards it, right? Say, for example, if you are delivering a shipment at 53 pin code 10053, for example, let's take an example of that. And you have multiple pin codes, which is far away from that pin code. We don't deliver home delivery. Today we are talking about quick e-commerce, right? But those particular area, even people are expecting that someone can come and deliver the shipment at least at the nearby location so that people can come and collect that shipment. So this is how the things are moving at, and as rightly said by Jaspal, that agar army tak saman pahunch raha, to logistics kaam kar raha hai.
Very true, sir.
Right. Only one point I need to add, since because Shiva has picked up a point which is very, very close to my heart and holding that for my research for over 2 decades. Maybe I find some time to do for myself. Indian Post, Indian Post is something which has reached to every corner of the country, and all the multinational today are leveraging the network of India Post. But the irony of India Post, if you compare with Deutsche Post, French Post, Australian Post, Singapore Post, they have been so huge that they have taken over huge companies. Today, if DHL is the world's largest logistics company, that is being owned by Deutsche Post.
Yes.
But what has happened to India Post? Where have they gone? If today they are still the backbone of the India network, have we ever recognized where is India Post, and is it that they are high profitable and can take over much larger logistics company globally? The answer is no. I'm still finding that answer. Maybe this is the right forum. Maybe I can leave that thought to the students. Why India Post is not there, where the global post have overgrown and they own the largest logistics company of globe? Why India Post is not there? So, so this is one of my research papers I'm working on. Maybe once I finish, maybe I will share this with the fellow colleagues. So that is my research paper I'm working on.
Thank you, sir.
Also, just wanted to quickly add, jump onto this, Abhishek, in line with what Shiv and Jaspal said, right? Also tying it back to my earlier point around ecosystems thinking and collaborations. Like we, for example, right now are working with Australia Post in Australia for e-commerce companies to use Australia Post as a carrier to deliver big and bulky items. So, for example, one of the largest furniture e-commerce company in Australia is a customer of ours. And we're discussing integrations with Australia Post, out of the box integration with our platform with Australia Post, that allows our e-commerce customer to route certain orders for certain locations which are not generally serviceable, or where you can't send big and bulky items that easily, to route those kind of big and bulky deliveries to those locations via Australia Post network and automate it. So automatically the order gets routed to Australia Post picks it up, makes the movement happen and then gets it delivered. So, it's all about, again, making the sum greater than the total of the parts, and how we can all leverage each other's expertise in the ecosystem to try and improve accessibility, customer experience, and all of that through technology. And that's why technology becomes an enabler for these kind of, and these are the right problems to solve. We were talking about choosing the right problems to solve. Accessibility is the right problem to solve, and ecosystem thinking driven by technology really allows us to get there. So yeah, just wanted to chip in with that.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sorry, just wanted to add one. I think it's a good, interesting topic. So basically, let's say when I slightly have a different point of view when we talk about tier 3, tier 4, right? I think we always confuse, let's say, logistics, and I think still students might confuse it with e-commerce deliveries, right? I think you shouldn't confuse that. Maggie to khai hogi na pahadon pe jaake kahin, right? So Nestle has that reach, right? How Maggie reaches, let's say, to that point. It's logistics, right? Someone is taking that from the factory to the warehouse, to retailer, to that particular place, right? So everyone, let's say, it will improve. Yes, like this also said, let's say as infra connectivity improves, road connectivity improves, it will improve, and let's say new business models will come out, right? But from a traditional logistics perspective, I think every company has already set up traditional companies, right? You can buy out any goods, FMCG probably goods you want to buy, and there is a reach available, and someone has already solved that. For example, let's say India Post, right? I think most of these e-commerce companies, when they came, the first thing for them was to reach out to India Post, because no one wanted to spend so much money on warehousing, setting up these cost centers, right? They were not able to solve that problem. Let's say I have personal experience where Flipkart tried it, but a lot of problems happened, right? And then they went on, let's solve it ourselves, right? So I think this is a very long topic. You can continue discussing it for as long as we want. But yeah, wanted to put that thought that someone has solved that problem already. It's just about how it will improve, and sort of, let's say, people will start getting home deliveries pretty much sooner everywhere.
Right. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Sumit, sir, and everyone who chipped into this very interesting discussion. We have already, we are very near to the end of this very interesting panel discussion. So we'll be able to just take one last question from Kashyap to Mr. Dhaval. Kashyap, please unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Audible?
Yes.
Yes.
Thanks, Sugandha. Thanks. Hello, Dhaval, sir.
Hi.
Yeah, you provided an insight into automation among the 5 last mile personas based on the data intelligence. So my question to you is, from a B2B standpoint, since I come from a real estate background, to what extent optimization through automation finds its use in mitigating a risk due to unforeseen transit issues and in suggesting workarounds? For example, consignment, which is air freight or cargo getting stuck due to breakdowns, or in the event of pilferages or any other impediments for that matter. Because a delayed delivery in consignment may impact the business operations of the client. So I would like to hear your thoughts.
Sure. So the way this works is, we, in fact, through our system as well, we call these things exceptions, okay, where there is a breakdown of a certain supply chain structure, where the product went bad, or even situations where there is a return happening on a product because the customer chose to not accept the product for whatever reason. That's called return to origin. And that's actually very nicely solvable through technology, because you can map these workflows, right? I mean, you can define, like you just mentioned, any of these scenarios that you spoke about, you can break this scenario down and map it into a workflow, which can be put up on our system. So you will have workflows for managing return orders. You will have workflows for managing delayed shipments. You will have workflows for managing any kind of deviation. Let's say a package was supposed to go in on a certain route in a all mile order. It was supposed to go from point A to point B to point C, but it, for whatever reason, due to some transportation snag or some issue somewhere, it ended up reaching a different location, or it ended up reaching a different hub, right? That's a deviation from an expected happy flow. And whenever there is a deviation, you define a back to origin flow, which ensures that your product kind of goes back. And because you have visibility now, right? I mean, all these 5 stakeholders that I spoke about, they have visibility of the shipment. So if there is a detour, or if there is a change in a route, or if there is a shipment that has gone bad or gone rogue and you got to get it back, or there's some correction happening for any deviation, all the respective parties will have visibilities of it. And the owner, the customer, or the dispatcher can decide how to notify the respective parties based on the exact location of the shipment and whatever expectations he wants to set for these customers. So you may also choose on deciding whether you want to share certain information or you don't want to share certain information and package it in a more customer friendly way. But you can set up a workflow and digitize that process and let the right stakeholders know. So for example, one of your shipments to a customer has, let's say, the quality of it has gone bad because of some transportation compliance not being followed. Let's say you were shipping ice cream and it was being sent in a refrigerated truck, and the truck refrigeration failed, or your temperature control failed, and that's why the quality of ice cream went bad. So you couldn't really take it forward. In which case, you will get notified of it. You can obviously bring that shipment back and then send a new shipment, but you can also inform the customer in a more customer friendly manner, saying, hey, we're sorry, there was an issue with your shipment. Therefore, your new shipment is being arranged, and it might take slightly more time, and we're compensating it by throwing in a $10 voucher or whatever. And it could be a B2B customer, it could be a B2C customer. Maybe you're shipping 100 kgs of ice cream to Carrefour, like a supermarket or something like that. So depending on the nuance, you can handle it because you have full visibility and you have communication channels for all these stakeholders that allows you to manage these workflows efficiently.
Answers my question, so thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was a very insightful and enriching discussion, and I'm sure all of us who were part of this discussion would be able to view the supply chain industry in a very new light, because we have gotten different perspective from leaders who are masters of different aspects of this industry. I would now move on to the vote of thanks for our panelists. So I, Sugandha, on behalf of my co-moderator Malika Chawla and the entire batch of PGDM GM, would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to Mr. Vasu Suram, to Mr. Shiv Rawat, Mr. Jaspal Gandhi, Mr. Dhaval Thanki, and Mr. Sumit Jindal for the enlightening and insightful session on the importance of multimodality, ecosystem collaboration, human resource training, and technological disruptions in the supply chain industry. Your emphasis on the challenges faced by the leaders when they're competing with disruptive new startups, especially in terms of bringing speed to the supply chains, provided us with a completely new perspective. The complexities surrounding implementing technology solutions into supply chains are the dilemmas that require thoughtful consideration and assessment, and different perspective on arriving at the most appropriate solution has been invaluable. Once again, thank you for your invaluable contributions, and we hope to have a privilege of welcoming you back to XLRI in the future. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you,
Thank
everyone.
you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.